Hello everyone, good evening. We'll wait for 2 to 3 more minutes, let everyone join. Then we'll begin with the class for the day, okay? One more minute, and then we'll start with the class for the day. So today, how the class will proceed is like this. We are going to attempt a listening test. In the last class, we left it at part 3, if you remember, right? So we'll continue from part 3 today. I'll first teach you how to answer part 3 and part 4 because part 3 and part 4 will be the difficult part when it comes to listening exam, right? These are the two areas where most of the students will struggle. So I'll try to simplify it for you, how to answer it correctly in the very first instance. Though the audio will be played for all of you twice, but I've seen even with that, many students are getting it wrong. So what we'll try to do is we'll try to get all the answers correct in the very first audio. And when they're playing it for the second time, we'll try to use that to make sure that our answers are correct, right? To match it with the answers, right? To justify, to proofread it, if you may say that. Okay. All right. Those of you, I think you had to join here. So I'll share my screen. So first I'll make you attempt the test part 3, just part 3 for once. I will not play the audio twice, just once. You'll answer it and then we'll discuss all the answers one by one and I'll teach you how to get it correct. Okay. So let's do that. So this is your part 3. I believe all of you can see this. And now I'm going to play the audio for this. Let's answer it. Then we'll discuss the answers one by one and I will also give you the tips and tricks for it.
Listening Part 3. You will hear a student giving a presentation about an archaeological excavation at an ancient Roman villa. Complete the information on the notepad. Write short answers of 1 to 3 words. You will hear the presentation twice. You have 30 seconds to look at the notepad.
In my presentation today, I'm going to talk about an excavation project at the site of a large ancient Roman villa built during the 2nd century CE. Together with a number of other archaeology students, I was lucky enough to be involved in this dig last September. This villa, which is near Folkestone on the south coast of England, was first excavated back in the 1920s, and at that time had been turned into a tourist attraction. However, by 1957, the site had deteriorated, and so the villa was reburied by the local town council, who lacked the money to maintain it. Since 2010, the Canterbury Archaeological Trust has been re-excavating the site and recording what remains. The villa was built on the top of a cliff overlooking the sea, the English Channel to be precise, so the original Roman owners would have enjoyed fine views from their home. However, the clay cliffs are not stable, and continuing coastal erosion means that this important site is in danger of slowly falling into the sea over the course of the next 100 years. Human intervention is unlikely to be able to prevent this from happening, and, in fact, several rooms have already been lost since they were first excavated. The villa complex as a whole had more than 50 rooms, including areas for food preparation, bedrooms, and servants' quarters. And unusually, even for a villa of these proportions, not one but two entire bathing suites, each consisting of several rooms. However, our aim in September was to focus on re-exposing a mosaic floor in the villa's dining area. This floor, made from tiny cubes of cut tile and coloured stones set into a mortar bedding, was first uncovered in 1924. Such mosaics readily degrade when left outdoors, exposed to the elements, so at that time the council erected a shelter over it to keep it safe from the weather. A visitor centre was also built nearby. Unfortunately, both were destroyed in the Second World War, and by 1957, when the mosaic was reburied, it was in a rather sorry state. But our excavations showed that a significant amount of the mosaic still remains. It would seem that at some point post-war repairs were carried out, and these helped stabilise what was left of the Roman design. The southern half of the mosaic is the best preserved overall, which we knew before beginning work. But what was wonderful to see was that far more of the central design is left intact than we had dared hope. For most of the archaeology students there, this was the first time that we'd been on a dig, and it was very exciting. Between us we unearthed numerous finds, including animal bone, shells, roof tiles, and painted walls. This latter find was important, as it helped confirm that the owner of the house was a high-status individual. The mosaic will be reburied again at the end of the year, pending discussions on whether it should be lifted and moved to a museum for permanent preservation and display to the general public. In the meantime, organised visits will be arranged to give local school groups a chance to see the remains before the site is backfilled. Work will continue elsewhere on the site. Underneath the Roman villa, traces of earlier buildings relating to the late Iron Age have been discovered. In many ways, these pre-Roman remains are of even more importance than the villa, but these early structures are much harder to identify and were missed by the excavators of the 1920s. Having largely been made of timber rather than the more durable stone, plaster and brick of later years, most have long since decayed.
I understand. Thanks.
In Part 3. You will hear a student giving a presentation about an archaeological excavation
Am I not audible? Some students are saying no sound. Okay, no worries. Okay, perfect. Sorry about that. Please let me repeat everything whatsoever I've stated. Okay. So we have played the audio once till this part. I've given you the answers, right? Now, today, what I'm going to teach you in the class is this. I'll teach you how to get the answers correct in the very first instance. When they will play the audio for the first time, you will get all your answers correct in that instance. And when they're playing the audio for the second time, that is where you will just check your answers to ensure that each and every answer that you have marked is correct. That is the purpose of this class today, right? Now, why we have started with section 3? Because section 3 and section 4 are the most difficult parts when it comes to LanguageCert academic listening exam. So I want you to understand the logic how to answer this one. Okay, first thing. Now, if you listen to the audio here, let me play it back. Listen to this.
Thanks.
Part 3. You will hear a student.
Simple. As soon as you hear the word part 3, immediately your attention should come to this part where you have your blanks. You will not read this. You will not read this part because that is not your concern. You don't have to explain it to someone else after the test. So you don't have to read everything. Be smart, be intelligent, be clever. You just have to give the correct answer. That is what the goal of this exam is. You have to get your bands. And for that, you need to get these blanks correct. So when they start speaking about it, when the person says that this is now the audio for part 3, that they're going to start with part 3, immediately your attention, your focus should be on these statements. Now, why I'm saying that? Because when you read these statements, what will happen is if you have read those statements twice or thrice before the main part of the audio begins, what will happen is you would have already understood majority of the questions, if not all of them. And why that is important for you, why that is crucial for you is because they're not going to use the exact words when they're giving you the answers. For example, instead of this word ongoing, the word they are going to use will be continuing, a synonym of the word ongoing. But if you have not read the statement, if you have not understood its meaning, and you're one of those students who tries to get the answer by looking at these words and you think you will match the words and you will get your correct answer, I'm sorry to say you're living in a utopian land. You're mistaken because that is not going to work for you. Okay, I'll prove it to you in a couple of minutes when we start playing the audio for this part. Okay, now listen to this, what the person is speaking.
Student giving a presentation about an archaeological excavation at an ancient Roman villa. Complete the information on the notepad. Write short answers of 1 to 3 words. You will hear the presentation twice. You have 30 seconds to look at the notepad.
All this time, whatsoever they have used to give you instructions and whatsoever they are giving you now should be spent only on reading the blanks. That's it. If there's a statement which does not have a blank, skip it. Don't read it. Okay? Only the blanks. See, our goal is to get the answers correct in the very first instance. We will not wait for the audio to be played second time. Because if you're one of those students who relies on that when the audio will be played for the second time, then I will get my answer, it means you're not going to get your answer, plain and simple. There are no two doubts, there's no two ways about it, right? So we'll not have any doubt here. Our goal is to get it correct when they're playing the audio for the first time.
In my presentation today, I'm going to talk about an excavation project at the site of a large ancient Roman villa.
Okay, he's talking about a project at an ancient Roman villa. All right, fine.
Built during the 2nd century CE.
I've told you, right? Remember yesterday, 2nd century CE means common era. Okay.
Together with a number of other archaeology students, I was lucky enough to be involved in this dig last September.
See, he's speaking about things which are useless for you, right? He's saying that I was involved in this group, right? I was lucky enough. I did it last September. Nothing has been mentioned here in the first statement out of whatsoever he's saying. But you have to keep your attention. You have to understand what is being spoken. Reason being, when he will start speaking about this, you don't know. So if you lose track of what is being spoken, you will miss the blanks, right? Our focus is here that when he starts talking about this part, that the villa was first discovered in 1920s. So whatever is being spoken before that, though it is useless for you, but you have to pay attention so that you can keep track where the person is, right?
This villa, which is near Folkestone on the south coast of England, was first excavated back in the 1920s.
First excavated. Excavated means digging was done, discovered, found. He's using the word excavated. It just means discovered, right? Brought to light, right? They were digging it, they were discovering it, right? Excavated.
And at that time had been turned into a tourist attraction.
It was turned into a tourist attraction. Ad verbatim he's speaking, what is written here. So easy for us to keep track of it. See, listening tests, you know why students lose their bands? It's not because they don't understand it. It's because they lose their attention. If you can keep your attention on what is there in front of you on the screen, you will always get it correct. I can guarantee that. You will get all 30 answers correct. Okay? It's just a game of attention, nothing else.
However, by 1957, the site had deteriorated, and so the villa was reburied by the
Right? The site had deteriorated and it was reburied, right? Putting it back again.
local town council, who lacked the money to maintain it. Since 2010, the Canterbury Archaeological Trust has been re-excavating the site.
Archaeological Trust is re-excavating, re-examining it, redoing all the things, right?
And recording what remains.
Now, since we have marked this, so it is obvious, right? I believe this is common sense that now you will very soon get your answer for this. So you have to keep your focus on this statement. Now, what the statement is? Statement says, as a result of ongoing dash, the villa is at risk of destruction. So there's something ongoing, something happening which poses a risk to the villa, which can destroy it. What is that? Let's listen to it.
The villa was built on the top of a cliff overlooking the sea.
Top of the cliff means top of a hill. Overlooking the sea means it is very adjacent to sea. Like you have the view of the sea, of the ocean from that place. Overlooking something means you can see that place. You must have heard it, right? The room which I'm allocating to you, if you are going to a hotel, the manager or the person at the reception would say that your room overlooks the ocean. Overlooks the ocean means it has a view of the ocean. Okay?
The English Channel, to be precise. So the original Roman owners would have enjoyed fine views from their home. However, the clay cliffs are not stable, and continuing coastal erosion means that this important site is in danger of slow.
Coastal erosion means this site is in danger. Continuing means ongoing. I told you, remember? They did not use the word continuing, they rather they use the word on. They did not use the word ongoing. They use the word continuing, a synonym. So continuing coastal erosion is posing a risk. It's a danger to the site. I'll repeat this part. Just listen to this.
And continuing coastal erosion means that this important site is in danger of slowly falling into the sea over the course of the next 100 years.
Right? It is in danger. It is at risk. So answer becomes what? What poses this risk? Coastal erosion. Right? That becomes my first answer. Okay? Hold your doubts. Muhammad. Okay. Muhammad is saying my voice is breaking. Am I not audible? Please confirm. If all of you can hear me, just give me a yes. If you cannot hear me, say no in the chat. If you can hear me, or give me a thumbs up. Sahil says can't hear me. Biswajit says yes, he can. iPhone says can. Yes. No, that's what I'm asking. If I'm not audible to you, if you are not able to understand what I'm speaking, then say no. If you're able to hear me clearly, if I'm audible, then say yes. Yes. Omar says it's good. Ali Heather says it's good. Sahil and Muhammad, there's some issue with your connections. You can disconnect and connect back again. Okay. I think there's some internet problem at your end because everyone else is saying it's good, right? Yeah. I have the highest speed internet connection of Telstra, right? Highest that they offer. There's nothing beyond this. And that is broadband. I'm not on Wi-Fi. I'm using broadband. So don't worry about it. Okay. All right, so let's continue. So first answer 18th, right? Next statement, let's read it. So the statement says the number of rooms in the villa devoted dash was exceptionally high. So there are rooms in the villa which are devoted, which are allocated. Devoted is allocated for something, right? Entrusted for something. So what is that? Let's listen to it.
Human intervention is unlikely to be able to prevent this from happening, and, in fact, several rooms have already been lost since they were first excavated.
Okay, he just mentioned the word rooms. Now you have to be attentive. Okay, now they're going to start talking about rooms.
The villa complex as a whole had more than 50 rooms, including areas for food preparation, bedrooms and servants' quarters. And unusually, even for a villa of these proportions, not one but two entire bathing suites, each consisting of several rooms.
Now he gave you the answer. He said what? Unusual for a villa. That even for a villa, this is very unusual. This is very exceptional. Unusual is a synonym to the word exceptional. He said this is very unusual. This is not common. Unusual. For what? Even for a villa, he's saying that this is unusual, this is exceptional. What is exceptional? That they have two entire bathing suites. Bathing suites becomes your answer, right? I'll repeat this, listen to it.
And unusually, even for a villa of these proportions, not one but two entire bathing suites.
Right? It's suites. Pronunciation is suites. Suites is a kind of a room, a luxury room in hotels. You must have read it, right? If you have ever visited a hotel. So suite, but it is written like this, okay? It is written like this. It is pronounced as suite. So bathing suites he's talking about. It is unusual for a villa as well to have two entire bathing suites. So number of rooms in a villa devoted to bathing suites was exceptionally high. Yes, and here also one thing I want to talk about grammar. When it comes to writing statements like this, the common mistake which students make, instead of writing was here, they write were. Please understand, this auxiliary verb is not decided by what you're writing here. It will be decided by this, the number of. That is what is being spoken about, right? So the object here would be not this, rather this, the number of rooms in the villa. So the number of was. It will not be the number of rooms were, the number of. So this will decide what auxiliary verb you'll use. This is a common mistake, so please be wary of this fact. In speaking, especially students do that, and also in writing. So you will not make this mistake. Remember this, okay? So I'll repeat the statement so that you can get your answer again. Listen to this, what is being spoken here.
Including areas for food preparation, bedrooms and servants' quarters. And unusually, even for a villa of these proportions, not one but two entire bathing suites, each consisting of several rooms.
Right?
However, our aim in
Each consisting of several rooms, number of rooms, in what? In the bathing suites. And it was exceptional, it was unusual. That becomes my answer, right? Next one. In 1924, so this makes it a bit easy because they would be talking about this year in 1924. A dash was built over the mosaic to protect it. Now, what is a mosaic? Mosaic is basically a design where what they do is they put some stones together, right? So small stones, when they're put together, that is what a mosaic is, right? You must have seen in old forts, right? If you ever visited one. So that is what a mosaic is, right? So let's listen to what they speak here.
September was to focus on re-exposing a mosaic floor in the villa's dining area. This floor, made from tiny cubes of cut tile,
right? This floor made from tiny cubes of cut tile. Mosaic, I've told you, right? They put together small pieces of stone. So that is what mosaic is.
And coloured stones set into a mortar bedding was first uncovered in 1924.
In 1924. Now he's talking about it. So be attentive. Now they're going to give you the answer. Answer is a dash was built over the mosaic to protect it. So what was built? Protect this mosaic. That's what we have to answer. Let's listen.
Such mosaics readily degrade when left outdoors.
So he's saying that if these mosaic, if you leave them as it is, they will degrade. They will be destroyed. They will lose their shine over time. They will lose the beauty over time. Right?
Exposed to the elements. So at that time, the council erected a shelter over it to keep it safe from.
The council erected a shelter. Erected means constructed. set up, put in place what? A shelter, a covering, right? A ceiling of sort to keep it safe, to protect it. So your answer is what? What they constructed? They constructed a shelter. I'll repeat this. Listen to this.
Exposed to the elements, so at that time the council erected a shelter over it to keep it safe from the...
Right? To keep it safe. So they constructed what? They erected a shelter over it. Remember this word erected, okay? You can use this. Instead of saying the word constructed, try to use the word erected, okay?
weather.
Next statement is, the part of the mosaic that is in better condition than expected is the dash. So what part of the mosaic is in better condition? That's what you have to answer. That they did not expect it, but it is still in better condition. What part is in better condition? Let's listen.
A visitor centre was also built nearby. Unfortunately, both were destroyed in the Second World War, and by 1957, when the mosaic was reburied, it was in a rather sorry state. But our...
Okay, he uses a phrase, it was in a sorry state. The meaning of this phrase, sorry state, means it was in a bad state. Okay, it was not very good to look at. Okay.
Excavations showed that a significant amount of the mosaic still remains. It would seem that at some point post-war repairs were carried out, and these helped stabilise what was left of the Roman design. The southern half of the mosaic is the best preserved.
Okay, now he's giving you a hint. He's saying the southern half of the mosaic is best preserved overall. So he started talk about preservation. Preservation means keeping it safe, protecting it. So continue listening to it. He will tell you what part of the mosaic is still in better condition, right?
Overall, which we knew before beginning work. But what was wonderful to see was that far more of the central design is left intact than we had dared hope.
Yes, now he's saying far more of the central design is left. That means in better condition, in better shape, right? Is left intact than we had dared hope. I'll write it here. Understand, you can use this. He's saying that more of the central design is left intact. Intact means protected, right? And what he said, then we had dared hope. Understand this phrase. This is an idiomatic phrase here, okay? He's saying that we were not hoping it, that we did not expect it to be in such a good condition, but it was. Central design is left intact, then we had dared hope. Like we could not dare, we could not fathom, we could not imagine that it was in such a good condition, but actually it was. Central design is left intact, then we had dared hope. So what part of the mosaic is in better condition than they expected? Then expected means, this basically, then expected means, then we had dared hope. So it means, what part? Central design. I'll repeat this. Listen to it. Now it will make a lot of sense to you.
The southern half of the mosaic is the best preserved overall, which we knew before beginning work. But what was wonderful to see was that far more of the central design is left intact than we had dared hope.
Yes, far more of the central design is left intact than we had dared hope, than we had expected. Okay, so central design is what your answer should be. Okay, next. Finding dash at the villa confirmed that the occupant was an important member of society. So they found something in the villa which gave them this confirmation that the occupant, means person who was residing at this villa, who was living at this villa, that person was an important member of the society. Maybe an aristocrat, maybe a noble, maybe someone from high status, right? Something like this. So what they found which confirmed this, that is what we have to answer. So let's listen.
For most of the archaeology students there, this was the first time that we'd been on a dig, and it was very exciting. Between us, we unearthed numerous finds, including...
He's saying we unearthed numerous finds. This word finds here means items. Okay? Unearthed means they excavated, they discovered. He's using the word unearthed. Unearthed means they discovered what? Finds, he's saying. This word finds basically means items, artifacts. Okay, I'll repeat this, listen to it.
And it was very exciting. Between us we unearthed numerous finds, including animal bone, shells, roof tiles and painted walls.
Right? So he has given you a number of things. He's talking about animal bone, shell, roof tiles, and painted walls. You have to keep this in mind. Okay, I know I'm asking you to remember something difficult, but you have to get the correct answer. So what did they find? Again, I'm repeating. He said animal bone, shells, roof, tiles, and painted walls. So out of this, which one told them that yes, this was an important member? That's what we have to look at. Let's listen what he says. I'll repeat this part. Listen to it in case you missed.
Finds, including animal bone, shells, roof tiles and painted walls.
So 4 things they found: animal bone, shells, roof tiles, and painted walls. Now let's listen to it, what he says after this.
This latter find was important, as it helped confirm that the owner of the house was a high-status individual.
This latter, he used the word latter. This latter found, what they found, this confirmed that the person was a high-status individual. This latter find, he said. This latter find, understand there are 2 words, former, latter. Former means first, latter means the last. Okay, former means the first, latter means the last. It's not later. Later means afterwards. Please understand, they're 2 different words. Don't confuse them. This word later, it means afterwards. This word latter means the second thing. It could mean the second thing or the last thing here. Here it would mean last. So he said this last thing, this latter find is item. This latter find, it confirmed that the person was a high status individual. I'll repeat it. Now it will make a lot of sense to all of you. Listen to this.
Including animal bone, shells, roof tiles and painted walls. This latter find was important, as it helped confirm that the owner of the house was a high-status individual.
Right, this latter. And what was the last thing out of 4? Animal bone, shells, roof tiles, and painted walls. Painted walls would be the last thing, and that's what your answer has to be. Okay, now I know I'm expecting you to remember these 4 things. It would be difficult. So if you get this one incorrect, I will not blame it. Right, even I can get it incorrect under the stress of exam, but if possible, try to remember. Okay. But I hope you got the logic behind it, why the answer should be painted walls. Okay, and keep these words in mind. This will be important. Okay? The word latter, and it's different from later. Later means afterwards. Latter means the second thing or the last thing. Okay, here it would mean the last thing. Right, latter. All right, next one. Plans are in place to allow dash to view the mosaic before it is reburied. So they are putting in place plans. They're planning something to allow dash, to allow someone to see, to view the mosaic before it is reburied. So let's listen who they're planning to show it.
The mosaic will be reburied again at the end of the year, pending discussions on whether it should be lifted and moved to a museum for...
Right, so they're talking about that it will be reburied. So who they are going to show it before they're reburying it?
For permanent preservation and display to the general public. In the meantime, organised visits will be arranged to give local school groups a chance to see the remains before the...
Right, who they are going to show it to? Organized visits. Organized visits means they are going to put in place plans. There will be plans to show it to whom? To local school groups. School groups would also be the correct answer, or local as well. Why? Because they're allowing you 3 words. So even if you append the word local here, local school groups, that will also be correct. I'll repeat this. Listen to it. It will make a lot of sense now.
And display to the general public. In the meantime, organised visits will be arranged to give local school groups a chance to see the remains before the site is backfilled.
Before the site is backfilled. Before the site is backfilled. I'll write the spelling as well. Backfill means reburied. Put it back. Okay? Before they fill it again, before they bury it again, before they put it down. So who they're going to show it to? They're going to show it to local school groups, or just the word school groups would also be sufficient here. Okay? Last one here. Excavators in the 1920s failed to identify the existence of buildings constructed of. So these buildings in 1920s, which they failed to identify, they were constructed of what? Let's listen to it.
Work will continue elsewhere on the site. Underneath the Roman villa, traces of earlier buildings relating to the late Iron Age have been discovered. In many ways, these pre-Roman remains are of even more importance than the villa. But these early structures are much harder to identify and were missed by the excavators of the
Right? See, he spoke, they were missed by the excavators. They failed to identify, missed by the excavators. So what they're made of, we have to listen to that now.
1920s, having largely been made of timber.
Having largely been made of timber. They were made of timber. Timber basically means wood here. They were made of timber. Having largely been made of timber. That's what your answer is. Right? I will allow you to unmute yourself. I'll take your doubts before I move to the next part. Any doubt in this one, please ask. Anything that you have not understood.
Sir, Biswithan.
Yes, please.
Sir, actually, that answer is saying 1 to 3 words, right? So let's say there is 23, that was local school groups. So if I put allow local to view, will be fine, or I need to put the local school groups?
No, what your answer? What do you want to write here?
So
23rd?
23, yeah. So it was local school groups. That was the right thing. But let's say if I put the local one,
The local one. Why would you
allow
say the
local to
local
view
one?
the mosaic.
Sir, he means to say that if he put only the word local over here
No,
instead of school groups.
that would be absolutely wrong. How can that be correct? What do you mean by the word local? Local what? Local people, local school groups, local individuals, local institutions, local what? Right? Local is not a noun here, dear. How can your answer be just local? You have to write local school groups, right? Or you can write just school groups, that is sufficient. But for you to write just the word local, that is absolutely wrong, right? Does not make any sense. Even if you put the word plans are replaced to allow local to view the mosaic. Local what, dear? Local is not a noun here. Right? You will show it to an institution, you will show it to an individual, a person, a group maybe. But what is local? Local just tells you the geography of that. Local does not tell you who you are showing it to. Right? Local means within the area, but within the area to whom are you showing it? Right? Because local is neither a place, like nor a person, nor an individual, nor an institution. It does not convey any idea, right? If you put just the word local here. Right? So your answer can, that's why they're saying your answer can be 1, 2, 3 words. So your answer can just be one word, your answer can be 2 words long, or your answer can also be 3 words long. But you cannot write 4 words in your answer. Okay, for example, in this answer, in 23rd, if let's say mistakenly wrote, allow the local school groups, so then your answer will be marked incorrect. Why? Because you're breaching this instruction. You're writing 4 words, which would be incorrect. So at most, what you can write here is, you can write local school groups. Right? That will be the answer that they will accept. Or you may just write 2 words. You may just write school groups. That would also be accepted. But any answer beyond these 2 is wrong.
Sir, I would like to introduce myself first. My name is Aida, and today is my first day of the class. And my exam is booked for 14th of October, so I am short on time as well. As I have started taking the classes, this is my first class, and this is part 3 of listening, right?
Yes, yes.
So I want to know that, like you have already told that the blanks will be in sequence only
Yes,
in the
yes.
audio. It will be in
Yes.
the sequence, right?
Yes.
Initially, I thought the answer of blank number 23 is general public. But after your explanation, I got to know that the real answer is school groups. So general public will be okay as well or not?
No, no, no.
Because
Remember,
initially he said,
what did they say about
yes,
general public? Right? If you remember the phrase when they were talking about it, he first said that the mosaic will be reburied at the end of the year. Right? And
right,
then he was
right,
saying that there are discussions about it, whether it should be museum for display to the public. So
okay,
they're thinking that if it is not reburied, then they will show it to public. I'll repeat the audio. Listen to
all
this.
right,
Right? So
yeah,
for general public, what they actually said, let me write it here. For general public, they're saying that if it is not reburied,
okay,
then who can see it? Then general public.
all right,
Right?
all right,
But if they're
all
going
right.
to bury it, then who is going to see? School groups.
School groups,
Right?
all right,
Before they bury it. So then
all
they're going to show it to the school groups. I'll
all
play the
right.
audio. Listen to this. That will make more
Sure,
sense.
sure,
Okay?
sure, sir.
Right. These things relate to site is back to the general public. Reburied
here it
again
is.
at the end of the year. Mosaic will be reburied again at the end of the year.
Okay, Mosaic will be reburied at the end of the year.
Pending discussions on whether it should be lifted.
Pending discussion. There are discussions going on. If it should be lifted, it should be taken out.
And moved to a museum for permanent preservation and display to the general public.
Right? So if they're not going to rebury it, then they will show it to general public. But our question says who they should show it to if it is reburied. Now listen to it. Now he will say.
In the meantime, organised visits will be arranged to give local school groups a chance to see the remains before the site is backfilled.
Before it is backfilled, before it is reburied.
Okay. All right, sir. I got the point. Or, sir, thank you so much, sir. Thank you for explaining. My next question is that the previous parts which I have missed, like listening part 1 and 2, will I be able to get the explanation on that as well?
Yes, absolutely. I have recorded those lectures, previous ones. You can watch the recordings. In the next classes, your new teacher will take up, dear, right? I only have 2 classes left with you. I'll not be teaching LC anymore. So Friday will be my last class with all of you. You have a new teacher coming up. So they will explain to you. But if you want to watch my recordings, they are available in the recording section on Mockmaster. You can watch it there. Okay.
It will be available on the portal, right?
Yes, absolutely. Okay.
In the recorded lecture section.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Any other question, anyone? All good? Perfect. So let's move to the next part. Let's try and answer a couple of questions from here. Okay, part 4. Now again, we are not concerned with this part here. Our focus has to be this. So they're saying, what does Peter say about press releases issued by university press officers? So Peter is making a comment about these press releases which were issued by the press officers from university. Options are, they're saying that Peter is saying the tone they take varies enormously. Varies means changes. Enormously means lot. It changes a lot from university to university. So the tone in which this press release is made, they're saying it changes a lot. It is not in the university's best interest for them to be too over the top. So they're saying it is not in their interest for them to stress on it too much. Okay, too over the top. And third is, some press officers misunderstand the fundamental purpose. Let's play the audio for this one. Let's try and understand it, right?
In
Okay, here it is, part 4.
You will hear part of a podcast discussion about how the findings of scientific research are reported in the media. You will hear the discussion twice. Choose the correct answers. You have 1 minute to read through the questions.
On the podcast today, we're examining the issue of how the findings of scientific research get reported in the media, namely the problem of exaggeration and hype. What are the causes and what can be done about it? With me are Dr. Peter Summer, a psychologist with a special interest in the representation of science in the media, and Dr. Marion Grayson, professor of science communication at Redbridge University.
Hello.
Hi. Peter, let's start with the role of the university press officer. They put out a press release when scientists at the university publish a study with the hope that journalists pick this up and write a story on it. Would you say that there's an intrinsic motivation for press officers to overstate study findings?
Right? Overstate something. Overstate means being too over the top. Right? She's already giving you a hint that it's overstated. They say too over the top. Another word they're using here, remember this, is exaggerating. Okay? Exaggerating basically means blowing something out of proportion, right? Trying to add more things than actually there are, right? For example, if let's say someone has done the gym for 1 hour and they're saying I did gym for 3 hours, so basically they're exaggerating, right? They're blowing it out of proportion. Okay, let's listen to it. What Peter says, we have to focus on it, right?
It's inevitable there'll be some exaggerations.
He says the same thing, that it's inevitable. Remember, yesterday we discussed the word inevitable. Inevitable means something which is bound to happen. That yes, he says this is a natural corollary. This is something which is natural in the course of things, that they're going to exaggerate. They're going to say more things than they're required.
It's because there's pressure to get publicity for the institution. That's their job after all. But having said that, there's also...
See, listen to this now. He said, but having said that, this phrase is used to contrast, to say that yes, I'm saying that it is inevitable, but however, there is something. Now he will give the contradictory phrase. Now he will contrast it. Listen to what he says.
Also a very strong competing desire to present the institution as trustworthy. Ultimately, for the university, it's more important to keep that stamp of authority than for any individual science story to get splashed across the press.
Now he's saying it. He's saying what is more important for the university? Give it a stamp of authority. Then what? Then splashing a story across the press. Splashing a story across the press means going over the top, like saying too many things. He says that yes, for your university, you have to say that our university is doing this, our university is doing that, we have these many placements, we have these many teachers, we have these many students. You say that, but he says there's something more important. And what is more important? That you need to be trustworthy, right? You need to come across as someone, as an institution which is trustworthy. You need to have a stamp of authority. Then what? Then splashing a story across the press means then going over the top. So what is he talking about? He's saying it's not in the university's best interest for them to be too over the top. Means if you're exaggerating things too much, that is not good. What is not good? This exaggeration, this going over the top, this splashing stories across the press. And rather what you should have is, you should have a stamp of authority. Okay, so B becomes your answer. Did at any point he talks about the tone, that it varies? Absolutely not. Did at any point he talks about some press officers misunderstand? Absolutely not. Right? So our answer to 25th is what? B. Next one, question. Let's first read the question here. The question says, what is Peter's concern about the first few lines of press releases? So he's concerned about it. He has some issues. He's not on the same page about the first few lines of the press releases. Options are, more effort goes into writing than into rest of the text. So he says, first option says that people are putting more effort to write the first few lines than the rest of the text in the press release. Okay. Second option is Peter's concern is that the influence they have on reader isn't appreciated by press officers. That these first few lines, that the impression they make, the influence they have, it is not appreciated. It is not fully understood by press officers. And C is the inaccuracies in them seem to stick in people's memories for a long time. That if you make mistakes in the very first lines, right, they will stay in people's mind for a long duration. So what out of these three is Peter's concern about the first lines of the press release? That's what we have to focus our attention on. So let's listen, let's play the audio.
So which elements of a press release are most critical to get right?
The first few lines.
Okay, now he says the first few lines. And what is his concern about it? Let's understand.
The bit that's there to hook the reader.
They are there to hook the reader. The reader means to generate interest among the readers. He already is hinting at B. right? Impact they have on reader, they hook the readers.
Some press officers assume that as long as they explain the study's findings accurately in the body of the press release, it doesn't matter if the first few lines are simplistic.
Yes, he says exact thing. He says some press officers, they assume, they think that if they're writing important things in the body, then the first few lines don't matter, even if they're simplistic. I'll repeat this, listen to it.
So which elements of a press release are most critical to get right?
The first few lines, the bit that's there to hook the reader. Some press officers assume that as long as they explain the study's findings accurately in the body of the press release, it doesn't matter if the first few lines are simplistic.
Right? It doesn't matter. This is what these officers think.
I would strongly disagree with that.
He strongly disagrees with that. He does not believe in it. He believes that this is not correct. So option what? Option B. The influence they have on readers isn't appreciated by press officers. Right? Makes sense? All right, next one. What does Marion feel is lacking from press releases about scientific findings? So this person, Marion, now we are going to talk about their opinion. What this person, Marion, feel is lacking. So this person feels that something is lacking from press releases about scientific findings. So what is lacking about these scientific findings? Options are that these press releases, they lack evidence to support the claims being made. So whatsoever claim we are making in these scientific findings, we are not giving enough evidence for that, right? Second is warnings about the limitations of the study, that these press releases, they don't give us enough warnings about what is a limitation of the study, what this study cannot do, right? All right. And third is information that puts the findings into context. That these press releases, what they lack is they lack information that provide the context, the background information, the whole story of these findings, right? Findings means the result, the outcome. Let's listen to it, what Marion feels is lacking.
We know from psychology that what you read first affects how you interpret the rest. That's why getting it right matters.
Marion, do you agree?
Absolutely. I've recently been looking at the use of buzzwords in press releases, and there's been a big rise recently. The kind of words I'm talking about are groundbreaking, world first, and landmark study. You get the idea. What the public doesn't understand is that most scientific results...
Now she's talking about it, right? Scientific results, scientific findings. So listen to this carefully. I'll repeat this part here.
The kind of words I'm talking about are groundbreaking, world first, and landmark study. You get the idea. What the public doesn't understand is that most scientific results don't qualify as groundbreaking. A single study will almost never revolutionize an entire scientific discipline. What counts is the broader body of knowledge to which...
What counts is a broader body of knowledge. Broader body of knowledge means the context, the background, the whole story. So what is lacking from these scientific findings which she's mentioning, which she says is more important, is the context. So this is what is lacking from the press release. Listen to it again.
Groundbreaking. A single study will almost never revolutionize an entire scientific discipline. What counts is the broader body of knowledge to which that single publication adds, and what we can learn from that addition to further build on it. We need the complete picture.
We need the complete picture, broader body of knowledge. Complete picture means the context, the whole story.
And that's not something press releases deliver.
And that's not something which press releases deliver, that they publish, that they put out. What they don't put out? The broader picture, the whole story there, the complete picture, right? So your answer becomes what? Your answer becomes C. They don't give the information that gives you the context of it, the whole story. The word, the two specific phrases she's using, one is the complete picture and another one is the broader body of knowledge. Broader body of knowledge or complete picture, both of them point to what? The context of it, right? 28. Next one. What do Peter and Marion agree about the overhyping of study results? Overhyping, again, the same thing, saying something too over the top, right? Options are, what do they agree about? They agree that preventing it involves controlling many variables, that to prevent overhyping, you need to control many variables. There is no need for it. There's no need of overhyping as often as it does, right? So they're saying as many times as overhyping happens, we actually don't need it so many times. And lastly, scientists need to monitor it and intervene if necessary. Scientists need to monitor the overhyping of study results, that they are not overhyped, and they need to intervene. They need to make some kind of intervention. They need to come forward if it is needed. So let's listen what they say. What do they agree on?
So are press officers ultimately to blame for overhyped science stories getting
Now they're talking about, right, overhyped science stories. Let's listen to it, what they both agree on.
into the press?
Scientists, press officers, and journalists are all involved and often shift the blame onto each other. Of course, press officers are responsible for misinformation in press releases, but at the same time, journalists are responsible if inaccuracies get to the public via their articles. Crucially, though, if the press office publishes hyped-up press releases, then it's the job of the scientist to notice this and protest.
It's the job of the scientist to notice it and protest. Okay, what all things Marion have said? Let's focus on that first, right? Marion said a couple of things here, right? Because we have to understand both the opinions, not just Marion's, Peter. We will listen to Peter's first. Let's understand what Marion has just spoken. Marion said that when it comes to these studies, so there are a lot of people involved. Scientists are involved, press officers are involved, journalists are involved. And what they do is they shift the blame on each other. This is the first important thing she said. After that, at last, she's saying that if scientists, they find out about it, right, then it's the job of the scientists to notice this and protest, to come forward to intervene, right? So she's hinting at what? She's hinting there are many people involved, right? Many variables, right? And she's also hinting at option C. But out of these two, which one both of them agree on? That is what our answer has to be. Right? Do they agree on that, yes, there are many variables involved in it, many people, many entities, or do they agree that, yes, scientists need to monitor and intervene? Now, the answer will depend on what Peter says after this, because Marion has given her opinion, right? Okay, so let's listen to it, what they say.
Peter, what do you think?
The thing is, if it all goes wrong, it's the scientist who will be held accountable, not the press officer.
Okay, first thing he's saying that scientists will be held accountable. He's not saying scientists should come forward. He's saying if anything goes wrong, people will put the blame on the scientist, not the press officer.
So, scientists have to keep an eye on what's being said about their work.
Scientists have to keep an eye on. Scientists have to keep noticing what is being said about the work. Scientists have to monitor. So till this part, Peter is saying the same thing. He says they have to keep an eye, they have to monitor.
At the same time, universities need to make sure they train press officers to do their job properly in the first place so that they're consistently releasing correct information.
Okay. Now, he also adds about what? He also adds about that universities, they also need to talk to their press officers to do their job properly. So, he never mentioned this. He never mentions that scientists have to intervene. He just said that they need to keep an eye, whereas Marion said the complete statement, right? So we still don't have our answer. Let's listen to it, what they say ahead.
And what about the role of journalists, Marion?
You know, very few newspapers have dedicated science journalists these days. Most science news is written by general journalists who don't have a science background. So they take university press releases at face value, something they'd never do with press releases from a company or political party. Any hype then feeds into the articles that journalists write, and then you have the risk of the public being misinformed.
Right? Now they give it to you. What are they talking about? Right? Now Marion says what? That there are not only these people involved, but there's another entity coming into it. That is what? The journalists. Right? And they also have to play their role. So preventing it involves what? Involves controlling many variables. And what are all those variables they have mentioned? If I recall it correct, they talked about scientists, They talked about press officers, right? Then they talked about journalists here, right? All these entities, they are involved in controlling what is being hyped and what is not, right? Right? So your answer becomes what? Your answer becomes A. Why? Because they never agree on this part of the statement to intervene if necessary. Remember, okay, please understand, in these type of questions, you will always get this type of question, always, where they will say, what do Peter and Marian agree about? What do they disagree about? So this will be the keyword in your questions. And you will always get this type of questions, always. Okay? Especially in part 4, when they're talking about that there will be a podcast. So podcast means there'll be 2 or 3 people interacting with each other. Okay? So you have to take note of these facts whenever you're answering such questions. All right? Okay, let me stop the recording here.